Hello, this is Tony Heller from RealClimateScience.com, setting the record straight about Boris Johnson. Boris Johnson says that 10 years from now, every home in Britain is going to run off of wind power. In a speech given to the Conservative Party conference today, he says, "You heard me right. Your kettle, your washing machine, your cooker, your heating, your plug-in electric vehicle, the whole lot of them will get their juice cleanly and without guilt from the breezes that blow around these islands. So you won't have any guilt, and you also won't have any electricity." 2 years ago, Britain went for more than 9 days without any wind power. June 6, 2018, Bloomberg News. Forecasters see wind output staying low for at least 2 weeks. I don't think people are going to be happy about going for 2 weeks without any electricity or without their electric vehicle being able to operate. It's terrible when the electricity goes out in the summer, and it's even worse when the electricity goes out in the winter. During the previous La Nina 10 years ago, Britain had one of their coldest and snowiest winters on record. Let's look at what happened to Scotland during the very cold Christmas of 2010. Green Scotland relying on French nuclear power. Published on Sunday, 26 December 2010. Scotland's wind farms are unable to cope with the freezing weather conditions, grinding to a halt at a time when electricity demand is at a peak, forcing the country to rely on power generated by French nuclear plants. Output from major wind farms fell to as low as 2.5% of their potential generation capacity during the cold snap as power demand rose to close to the highest level yet recorded, new figures have revealed. Meteorologists say extremely cold temperatures can occur only when there is little or no wind. So wind fails when it's very hot in the summer, and it also fails when it's very cold in the winter, the two times when you need the electricity the most. And Boris wants to make every home in Britain completely dependent on wind. Besides being a disaster for humans, reliance on wind power is also a disaster for the environment. Here's an article from 2014. A rare white-throated needle-tailed bird was killed by a wind turbine in Scotland on June 26 as horrified bird watchers looked on. This is one of the rarest birds in Britain. Had an oil company done this, they certainly would have been prosecuted, but wind farms get a pass. This is a picture I took during November 2017 of the massive offshore wind farms being built near Brighton, England. There's going to be a lot of birds getting chopped up by these wind turbines. Boris isn't being very intelligent, but he hasn't always been like this. This is an article he wrote 7 years ago in the Telegraph. It's snowing and it really feels like the start of a mini ice age. Something is up with our winter weather. Could it be the sun is having a slow patch? These are his words. As a species, we human beings have become so blind with conceit and self-love that we genuinely believe that the fate of the planet is in our hands, when the reality is that everything, or almost everything, depends on the behavior and caprice of the gigantic thermonuclear fireball around which we revolve. So Boris used to be a pretty smart guy. I wonder what happened to him. It could have something to do with his friendship with filmmaker Franny Armstrong. In 2009, she claims that Boris rescued her from a gang of girls who were going to beat her up. Franny Armstrong made perhaps the most horrifically disgusting piece of climate propaganda ever made. If you are particularly sensitive, you're not going to want to watch this.
Right, kids, just before you go, there's a brilliant idea in the air that I'd like to run by you. Now, it's called 10-10. The idea is everyone starts cutting their carbon emissions by 10%, thus keeping the planet safe for everyone, eventually. Now, this hasn't got to be a huge thing, but I would love it if you and your families would think about doing something.
What sort of thing, miss?
Well, like getting your dad to insulate the loft, or taking your next holiday by train instead of flying, or buying energy-saving light bulbs.
We're thinking of using our car less. I'm going to cycle to school.
That's fantastic, Jemima. Now, no pressure at all, but it'd be great to get a sense of how many of you might do this, just a rough percentage. That's fantastic! And those not? Philip and Tracy. That's fine, that's absolutely fine. Your own choice. Okay, class, thank you so much for today, and I will see you all tomorrow. Oh, just before you go, I just need to press this little button here. Now, everybody, please remember to read chapters 5 and 6 on volcanoes and glaciation.
Except for Philip and Tracy, of course.
That was from Franny Armstrong, Boris Johnson's friend. Boris Johnson is busy cutting off the electricity to UK homeowners. And he's also sending in police thugs to beat up people who want to leave their homes and have a normal life. Boris says he's sending police in to beat people up at anti-lockdown protests because he listens to the scientists, but the scientists are actually saying the exact opposite. Yesterday, more than 6,000 experts joined the global anti-lockdown movement. They're calling for protection to be focused on the vulnerable while healthy people get on with their lives. It's difficult to guess what's going on in Boris's head, but he's certainly not listening to the engineers and he's certainly not listening to the scientists. By contrast, Toto always keeps his ear to the ground and he always listens to the right people. You can visit him and Kyrie on the web at realclimatescience.com.